Good morning everybody and welcome to another video, and today we're here again in Rome and we're in the Roman Forum area just opposite the Colosseum, and today we're going to discuss the assassination of Julius Caesar, visit where his body was cremated, and also later on in the day we're going to visit the area where Caesar was assassinated back in 44 BC. Now, as many of you guys will know, Caesar himself was assassinated at what is known as the Ides of March, and I think that's around, is it the 15th of March? And this was in 44 BC. Now, he was assassinated not here in the Roman Forum or close to the Colosseum, but further afield, and I'll put the name down below, but I think it's something like the Court of Pompeii or something like that. But we're going to visit that location after we finish filming here at the Roman Forum, but we're going to find the location of where Caesar himself was cremated shortly after his assassination. Now, we've just been wandering in awe at the heights, the size of this building, and like even Vicky's saying, and I've said it, but how would they erect these massive pillars over 2,000 years ago? I mean, we talk about like the pyramids, don't we, now they were built, but even still these must have took some erecting, some building, some carving back in the day. I mean, it is a feat of engineering, isn't it, in itself. Now, when Julius Caesar was assassinated back, like I said, in 44 BC, apparently there was over 50 conspirators who were all behind what went on. And like I said, it was known as the Ides of March, the 15th of March. Now, we do know where his body was cremated, as was in the Roman fashion, and it is just in that location. So we're going to go there shortly, but we're going to get some footage and have a walk around the Roman Forum, because obviously it all ties into when Julius Caesar, like I said, once roamed these parts, and it is a fascinating place at the same time. Now, for the purpose of today's video, we're not actually going to get too involved with Julius Caesar's life as it was. It's just too big a tale to tell in one go. So please go on Google and look up the history of Julius Caesar, and hopefully our video will tie in nicely with what you find out for yourselves. So just behind these rocks here is the place where Julius Caesar was cremated, as in the Roman fashion back in the day in 44 BC. So as you can see, people leaving coins, flowers, but this is apparently the place where Caesar was cremated. Now the question is, why was Julius Caesar assassinated in the first place? Well, apparently many people, senators especially, began to think he was becoming too powerful. And Caesar, when he took power, it was all about removing the king. He felt that no country, people should not be ruled by kings or queens. So eventually the monarchy at the time was removed from the power status that they had here in Rome. And when Caesar finally took control himself, he became too powerful. So all this about not being ruled by kings, but by being ruled by, I think they called them the populares or the populars, that seemed to be going out the window according to many senators. And this is why a plan was hatched to try and assassinate Caesar. Now what is hard to imagine is that this is all marble, and everything that was once here would have looked exactly just like that. It would just all be marble, white, brilliantly white marble. Things such as this structure, these structures over in the distance, the arch, it would have been made out of marble. And it's so difficult to imagine what it would have looked like 2,000 years ago. So where we are now, we are in an area and it's where the Vestal Virgins once used to live, and one could say worked all those years ago. And the Vestal Virgins it's an unbelievable tale of how young girls were taken from the families at a very young age, and then they would keep their virginity for at least 30 years whilst they were doing duties for, obviously, the Roman Forum, the people of Rome. Now again, the story of the Vestal Virgins, again, it's a very big story to get into. So again, I suggest people look it up and read about this fascinating side and life of Roman times. Because like I said, it really is a fascinating story of how these young women once lived and worked. Now, from what I have read, and my extremely limited knowledge of the Vestal Virgins is, they had to secure and look after a flame, and that flame had to be lit 24/7 because it brought good luck. It kind of looked after the city of Rome, and it was always deemed a bad omen if that light ever went out. So if the flame ever died out, it will bring misfortune and unease to the Forum and obviously Rome as a whole. So these Vestal Virgins, their main duty was to look after that flame, and we're going to go to the building where that flame used to be lit. If that flame ever died out under the watch of one of these Vestal Virgins, this poor lady would be killed in a way which was quite frightening. They weren't killed outright, they would be placed into holes, pits made for that person. They would be given bread, water, limited food, but they would die slowly, incarcerated in their own tomb. Now, what is quite bizarre is why most of these statues don't have any heads. So if anybody knows this and can comment down below, let us know. This lady still has a head, and so does the lady just in the corner over there. But all the remaining statues have lost the heads. Now again, was that something to do with the fall of the Roman Empire? At the end stages, the end game, when Rome fell? Comment down below if anybody knows why these statues are missing their heads. So as for the Vestal Virgins, as we're saying guys, I would highly recommend looking into the story of what these ladies went through, and obviously some of the punishments that they would receive if they stepped out of line for even the slightest of things. But I mean, it's a horrible way to think how they would be killed. Like I said, they wouldn't be murdered outright, but to have pits or like cellars built for them where then they would be placed with nothing but, I think, water and bread. But obviously once that had run out, they would just be left to die. And it's quite a frightening prospect when you think about it. So as you can see, it actually does say about the flame, the sacred flame, and how the Vestal Virgins had to keep this from going out. And if it did go out on their watch, then they would face the ultimate punishment. And that Vestal building is to our left. Which I think is that building just there. So that would have been a circular, and I'll put a picture over, a sketch of what it once looked like, but that is where the eternal flame was once located. So you can get a better view from here of how round the Vestal used to be, or the Vesta I should say. So this would have been a big monument that came round, and the eternal flame was in the centre, which these virgins had to protect at all costs. Now when we were at the Roman Forum and we talked about the marble and how white it would have looked, we're going to show you some images, some footage now of another building. I'll put the name down below, but you can just imagine, just based on this, what many of the structures at the Roman Forum may have looked like over 2,000 years ago. Check this footage out guys. So where we're heading to now is the actual spot, and it has been confirmed recently, but this is the actual spot of where Julius Caesar was assassinated around 2,000 years ago. It was been recently opened to the public, and you can actually see it from the main street itself, so you don't actually have to pay to go down to view it in any detail. You can actually see it from above. But we're going to visit, and we'll be there in about 2 minutes. And we'll show you guys the exact spot apparently where Caesar was assassinated, like I said, on the 15th of March 44 BC, and I think he was stabbed 23 times in total. Now his body obviously was taken from this spot to the Roman Forum at some stage, and it was there where his cremation would have taken place, again the spot which you will have already seen on this video. So this, my friends, is the area, the spot where Caesar was killed, like I said, around 2,000 years ago. And it was either in that corner, and I think it is in that corner, where the arches are now filled in, or the backfilled. That is the area where Caesar himself was assassinated. And I think there was between 50 and 60 conspirators. Now I don't think there was that many who stabbed him, but there was over 50 conspirators who all wanted Caesar dead. And like I said, he was stabbed 23 times. Probably the most famous assassination in history. And I have to say, and I said this to Vicky before we came here, this is probably one of the, well, it is the oldest murder site that we have now visited, and this is going to take some beating over the next few months, if not years, here on the Days of Horror YouTube channel. Now, the strange thing about all this with Caesar and his assassination is, when he was assassinated, the senators all thought the public would have been behind him and would have been rejoiced that such a dictator was now no more. But that couldn't be further away from the truth, because from what I've read, it seems that many of these assassins fled. I'm not sure if it was Rome, but definitely fled the area in fear of their own lives, because it backfired, and public outpouring of grief and sympathy for Caesar was rife. Everybody was against his assassination, so everything that these senators hoped would help had the opposite effect. Now, obviously, with the death of Caesar, or the murder of Caesar, and like I said, the senators thought it would make Rome even stronger, more beneficial with this dictator out of the way. It was the complete opposite, and the beginning of the end of the Roman, I think it was the Roman Empire at the time, had just begun, and many years later Rome itself would fall. And we have all heard that saying, when Rome falls, and this is exactly the time period and how the end of an empire would come to be: the assassination of Julius Caesar. So we're going to leave the story of Caesar here where we are, and the place of his execution back in 44 BC. We hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, it's not an in-depth one about Caesar's life and about how he came into prominence and power. It's more about where he was assassinated, which is here, and obviously where his body would ultimately be cremated at the Roman Forum. If you like this video, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up, and don't forget to comment down below if you found this interesting. Let us know your thoughts on the history of Rome and Caesar and how his assassination unfolded. And like I said, to be here, it's just an incredible feeling. I don't think we'll beat this anytime soon. But in the meantime, guys, I want to take care, look after yourselves, and we will be back soon with other tales from a dark but at times glorious past. Take care, stay safe, stay curious.